Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to day number 8. Oh man, that was week of my 31 Days of Horror series, where I rank a horror movie franchise per day, from the worst of the worst film to the best of the best. Now, if you have not yet seen my latest videos, I suggest you all to go back to my previous playlist, which I'll probably put like a little thingamabob here and somewhere in my editing skills if I remember it. I've been having a lot of fun doing these videos. They're a lot of great fun. It makes me a bit much of a horror fan that I am right now. It makes me appreciate some of the films I haven't seen in a long time, and it reminds me some why I haven't seen some of the films that I've not seen in years for some weird reason. But in today's episode, in day number 8, we're gonna be ranking the entire Final Destination franchise. Yeah, another franchise that a lot of people don't talk about. A franchise that I and a lot of younger horror fans remember watching in the 2000s to right now. Of course, with the latest announcement that they're gonna be releasing a Final Destination 6 around 2023, 2024, around that time. So, a lot of people are kind of going back into this franchise and revisiting some of the details, some of the kills and all that, which I gotta say, when it comes to the Final Destination franchise, the kills are some of the most creative kills that I've seen in a while in terms of a franchise. The reason I say that is because the person or the individuals, if you want, or it's not even an individual, or a something somebody you can see, feel, or touch. It's actually an entity, a spirit, or in layman's terms, death in all its glory, doing all these killings of how people who were supposed to die at this point in time escape death, and they kind of die in a more horrific tragedy accidental way. So, the Final Destination has been so synonymous with horror. Not the best horror you're gonna see, but some entertainment horror. It's a lot of bloody, a lot of gore. Again, creative kills, which I will talk about some of those kills if I remember correctly. But if not for that, let's get into the ranking of the Final Destination franchise. So, at number 5, we have the Final Destination 4. In other words, Final Destination 4. Now, when this film was announced around 2009, everyone thought, including myself, thought this was going to be a whole reboot because it didn't have the usual Final Destination 1, 2, 3, and this was supposed to be Final Destination 4. So everyone thought, oh, it's going to be a complete reboot. It didn't turn out to be a complete reboot. It's actually in continuation of the franchise and the story of the franchise, and this actually takes place in a NASCAR race, which I've never been to a NASCAR race or any kind of race in my life. And from watching this film, I probably never ever gonna go to a NASCAR race because I want to fucking die. I mean, the way that the movie starts when they're in the race, and the accidents start to happen, the cars going down the track, and then one of the tires kind of flying through the crowd, cutting somebody in half, the pieces from the car going everywhere and all that. It just kind of freaks me out to think that something like that could happen, with our modern technology and all that. So it's to show you that you cannot escape death even for the slightest bit. I do like the beginning of the film, how they kind of show the previous kills in the previous films, was 1, 2, and 3, in kind of a more X-ray kind of way. How they have the kill, and then you kind of show the X-ray of the bones breaking and the guts coming out. So I kind of find that cool that they kind of did that both at the beginning and at the end of the film. And this whole roller coaster, no pun intended, of a ride, again, no pun intended, of a film that, I mean, I had to put it at the bottom because it's one of those films that I don't remember a lot. Great film, but in terms of my Final Destination films, if I ever want to go and watch a film Final Destination, this is probably the least one I will probably sit down and watch. I'll still watch it, enjoy it, but in terms of be like, I want to watch the Final Destination, you're never ever gonna hear me that unless somebody suggests it. I'll be like, I'll be down. At number 4, we have Final Destination 2. Now, this film to me is the blame for every time I go on the road, either by myself or with my family or friends of mine. Whenever I'm going down the road and I see a truck full of tree trunks, and every time I see that motherfucker, I immediately get PTSD flashbacks to to the scene of the Final Destination 2 where everyone else is dying because of the fucking truck with tree trunks. Everyone's dying and all that. So every time I see a truck full of tree trucks, either by myself or my family, I always try to move away from the truck because I don't want to fucking die in the middle of the road. You know, that's not a way I want to fucking die, and I don't want to fucking die that way. I get traumatized. I just be like, nope, I'm just gonna move to the other side and pass you. Good luck with your life. But it always creeps me out. And the thing about this film that kind of find this interesting from besides all the films is the way that the kills are done. Not in terms of how hey, they all because in every film in all the Final Destination films, the way that each buddy dies is the way that they all kind of escape death after the division. In this film, it's the other way around. They kind of die in the opposite way. So the last person who escaped or was supposed to die escaped is the first one to die, and then go on and go on, going down the chain, which is kind of funny. They kind of did that, and kind of the only way to break this curse, if I even can call it this curse, depending, or even death, is to actually give birth to a newborn and break the curse. But even though death will still come after you, even if you kind of break this chain of events. So it's kind of a weird film. Kills are okay. I think the most memorable thing I remember from this film, besides the fucking railroad tree trunk that kills everybody, was the part where this kid is in his apartment. He kind of escapes death, but he still gets fucking killed by something. I don't remember what it is that shatters his head in pieces. So that's kind of a weird thing to do, but you know what? Still enjoyable film. At number 3, we have Final Destination 5. Now, Final Destination 5, I thought, and everyone thought, this was going to be the Final Destination film until we got the announcement maybe a year or so later that we're going to get a Final Destination 6. Of course, they bring back Tony Todd to this film, which Tony Todd has been in appearance in probably the first 2 films and in this one. And for me, I was like, I wonder why they brought him back. Eventually, down the movie, which we'll talk about in a bit, it explains why he was in the film. It turns out that this film, Final Destination 5, is a prequel to the original, which honestly, I never saw that coming. I honestly thought this was a continuation of the Final Destination or Final Destination 4, because later they've kind of been doing them, they're going down the timeline. They've never gone back in time where the previous events happened. And I like the fact they kind of did that because at the end of the film, after the killings are done, the people survive the kills, the group of kids that survive everything, they go to a flight down to Paris to fly 180, which already thought, oh, they're taking the same flight that the same people from the Final Destination 1 took. And at the very end, it turns out that this film is a prequel because we see Alex and the kids from the school, and they're going down to Paris getting kicked out of the airplane, and the guy who survives in Adventures of Part 5 overhears them, and he's freaking out, and he fucking ends up dying in the fucking airplane. So I find that ironic. I find it cool that it kind of went back in time and explains why Tony Todd was in the film, because this predates the first film. So I kind of was like, what the fuck? And I also like the ending of the film when they kind of do this kind of montage where they say these, if you want blood, you got it, of the film's, the entire franchise's best kills. And of course, we have the ending line of Tony Todd saying, death doesn't like to be cheated. It gets me chills. I like Tony Todd. Again, Tony Todd, one of my favorite horror movie icons. Of course, he played Candyman, which if you have not seen my Candyman rank them all, I suggest you all to go back and watch it. Pretty amazing film. At number 2, we have Final Destination 3. Now, Final Destination 3 has a warm place in my heart because I remember me and my cousin back then when we didn't have enough money to go to the movies, or even go to Blockbuster, or even get the DVD of the film for us to watch it. We would actually, and we kind of did that. I mean, of course, everyone has done this before, when you illegally download the film in this website that I can't remember the name of. Of course, the website's been down for years, but me and my cousin, we illegally downloaded the film to watch it because we couldn't watch it any other way. Our parents wouldn't take us to go to the movies. We didn't have much. We didn't even have money. Of course, we were fucking kids. We were like maybe 12, 13, 15 years old. I mean, come on. I mean, give us a break. But this film, it always gave me, it traumatized me for a while, because after watching this film, It took me maybe a year, maybe a year and a half, close to 2 years of actually getting back into roller coaster because it gave me this traumatization of I'm gonna fucking die if I get into a roller coaster, which I love going to roller coasters. I've been to so many roller coasters, but for a period of time, there was a time that I was scared of actually getting into a roller coaster because I didn't want to fucking die until I decided to get into a roller coaster and face my fears. And of course, nothing happened. Thankfully, nothing happened. But the way that this film happens is that I love the kills, especially the main Lily character, which I can't remember her actress name. I know, of course, she plays Ramona in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. She's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful woman. The way that she finds out who's gonna be killed is by the way that she takes the pictures and it kind of shows her a glimpse of how some of her friends are gonna die or get killed and all that. I love that movie back then for memories of me and my cousin watching it illegally downloaded and just having a blast watching that film. Not to mention my traumatization of getting into roller coasters, but that's a different story. And of course, at number one, we have Final Destination 1. The first one, of course. If you kind of notice in some of my rankamos up to now, always the first, mostly the first film is always the one at the very top, except for maybe something like maybe Child's Play 2, my Child's Play rankamo. Maybe it might change to some of the later rankamos I'm going to do in the future, but the first film is always the film that is the one that kind of sets up the entire universe, or the entire franchise, and has a lot of things to do. And at the time, Final Destination back in 2000, I think it was 2000 when it came out. Of course, I was 4 at the time, I didn't get to see it, but it wasn't 2 years later when I was getting more into horror that I saw this film, and it kind of gave me a kind of awakening of horror to me because before that, I've never seen any film like this before. Of course, about you dying without actually knowing that this entity of the embodiment of death is actually pulling the strings and everything you do leads up to the grave, which kind of stuck to me for a long time. That everything that we do, the people you have sex with, the people you conversate with, everything you do in life is one step closer leading to the grave. And that kind of traumatized me for a while because I don't want to fucking die. I mean, who doesn't want to fucking die? But also the fact that this takes place in an airplane, which I've never been to an airplane. I would love to probably be in an airplane, but at the same time, I won't be lying to you if I ever get a bit scared or nervous because, of course, I've never been to an airplane. Of course, you always hear these stories of people getting traumatized, dying in airplanes or airplanes malfunctioning in midair, and you're like, "Fuck me, I'm gonna die in this airplane." You start calling people and all that. But for me, this film it was a bit of fresh air because before that, nothing ever been come close to that. I don't think that there was any film that kind of duplicate that same magic of the first Final Destination. And it's a film that a lot of people, including myself, really enjoy. I mean, I don't want to say it's top 20 greatest horror films of all time. Maybe top 50 or maybe top 75 film horror films of all time, in my opinion. But the impact that this film has had and the rest of the Final Destination films has had, it has traumatized the living shit out of people for obvious reasons, of course. Either going on a bridge or on a railroad or a roller coaster or an airplane or just um, traumatization in general. And it has done its work. I'm kind of excited to see what the sixth film is gonna bring. Hopefully, it brings a new light into the franchise. And of course, to me, the first film as always will always be the best Final Destination film in my opinion. And that does it for this video, guys. I hope you guys really enjoyed this ranking mod. Like I said, I've been having a lot of fun doing these ranking mods. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do the extra shebang. Don't forget to follow me on my Instagram. Don't forget to follow me on my Twitter. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video where I'm going to be ranking the Scream franchise, a horror franchise that has been lately getting more love over the years. And I mean, of course, being loving Ghostface, and a lot of people have, for some fucking reason, fantasized being killed or fucked by Skullface, which I'm like, are you kidding? The membrane, but that's a different story. Again, another kind of franchise that kind of revolutionized film in the 90s, which I'll talk about a bit in tomorrow's video. But like I said, hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Stay safe, everyone, and until next time, stay metal.